So hello everyone, thank you very much for coming to Public Journalism Club today, for joining this event. We are really excited to see there was so much interest, and I think that if not for the rain we would have more people, but probably not enough seats for everyone to accommodate, so it's good we had the rain. I'm glad to introduce to you Emré Özbek, who is our guest speaker today from Turkey. Emré is here as part of our Technology Goes Beyond Borders project, implemented in partnership with Microsoft Innovation Center. This is a 6-month project which brought together 6 teams from Armenia and Turkey, 3 from Armenia and 3 from Turkey. They participated in online mentorship, but Armenian and Turkish mentors. They came to Yerevan for a crash course. They continued their mentorship, they worked on their products, and tomorrow our teams will be presenting their products to a panel of jury. So Emre is our jury member from Turkey. We have another jury member from Turkey, Cansu. I think Cansu is somewhere here too. Cansu is representing our partner organization TEPA from Turkey. So we'll have 5 people in jury from Armenia and 2 people from Turkey. So Emre, he has extensive experience in working with startups, in startup investment, mentoring startups. I think you have all had the chance to see his biography and profile. We'll also have the materials available over there, and on the second page you have his brief profile. Once again, I want to thank everyone for coming, and to thank Emre specifically that he's committing his time and his knowledge for this free of any charge lecture on his experience, sharing with you his experiences, and I'll let him introduce more his experience and then go on with his lecture. Thank you, Emre.
If that's okay with everyone and with the camera, I'll do it standing up. So thank you for having me, Esther, and I'm really excited to be part of this program. You don't get a chance to be part of such programs every now and then. In Turkey, we are quite actively working on the startup ecosystem, but we do it for Turkey, in Turkey. And this was a great opportunity for me to go beyond borders, as the name of the program suggests. So I'm really excited to be part of this. And tomorrow is going to be the big day for the project team members. And hopefully today, we're going to share some of my experiences. And I will ask your help to share your experiences so that we can turn this into an interactive session. This is not a lecture per se. This is where I will set the ground, make the background information, share the background information, and hopefully I'm really interested to hear your experiences and how things work here. And if that would be in any way helpful for your future, I'm more than pleased to be part of that. So let's see if the equipment works. Yes. So a little background on myself first. I'm a managing partner with Istanbul Startup Angels. In Turkey, there are now 10 angel networks, angel investor networks. The Department of Treasury in Turkey came out with a tax benefit for the individuals who would like to make angel investment. As you know, angel investment is a personal investment. Unlike VCs or private equities, venture capitals and private equities, angel investors take money out of their own pocket and invest in companies. So this in itself is a big difference when you are talking to an angel investor or an institutional investor. And angel networks came out, bringing these people together, because searching for startups, trying to find the good startups, and then knowing what to do when they find the startups is not an easy thing. And these people, the individual angels, are experienced people with backgrounds of 20, 30 plus years in the business world. Some of them have experience in starting their own businesses and then selling them. So they have startup experience from the beginning. But they may not necessarily be experienced or knowledgeable in angel investing. There's a mechanism for angel investing, and it's a separate process in itself. So angel networks, as I said, we are one of the 10 operating in Turkey under the accreditation of the Department of Treasury of Turkey. Because the Department of Treasury, when they first started, they started giving certificates to individuals who would want to be angel investors. This certification was not to prove that you know something. This was to prove that you have a net worth of more than 1 million TL, which is, I don't know, about the Turkish liras. In dollars, it's probably half of that. I couldn't calculate, but maybe you can help. Or they were making good money working in a corporation. So these people either have personal net worth or are high-level executives in professional capacities. So the Department of Treasury would give the certificate to the individuals so that they can benefit from the tax benefit. And the tax benefit is the money that you put into a company goes off your taxable income at the end of that year. And hopefully when you stay in the company for 2-3 years or more than 2 years, and then when you sell your shares or exit the investment, the amount you make between the money you put and the money you make is tax-free. So the two benefits are, when you invest, you have a tax benefit. When you exit, you have another tax benefit. So this generated some activity among the high-worth individuals, but not enough. To give some perspective, in Turkey there are now almost 300 people with this certification, certified or accredited to be angel investors. In the States, this number is 1 to 1,000. So there are 300,000 people in the States, in America, with the accreditation, who are actively angel investing. And if I take the population of the United States as 300 million people, compare that to 300,000 people, and take Turkey's population of 80 million, turn that into, that should be around 80,000 people in Turkey alone. We are at 300. That's a big gap. So, yes? You can ask now. This was the first question. You're only allowed to ask one question each. You used your chance. No, I'm kidding. Do you want to ask something? Okay. So to wrap this part up very quickly, when we formed our network, one of the main objective, the main strategy that we have is to increase the number of angel investors and increase the number of people who are aware of angel investing, know how to do angel investing, and do angel investing. So our strategy is to increase the number of angel investors, one, and two, increase their capacity in angel investing. Therefore, we're also running training programs for people after they become accredited, especially this Angel Labs here. This is a US organization run out of San Francisco in the States, in Silicon Valley. And its primary purpose is to train people on angel investing, hence the name Angel Labs. And they're active in 5 countries. They have presence in 5 countries. And they're actively training angel investors in 90 countries. And we are representing them in Turkey. So again, to summarize this, I'm part of one of the angel networks in Turkey. There are 10. Hello. Our strategy is to increase the number of angel investors and then also increase their capacity as angel investors.
Is it a private organization? And how does it work? Like one angel investor can be part of one network, or?
Yes, yes. Yes and yes. So this is a corporation. According to the regulation by the Treasury Department, this has to be a corporation. And yes, individuals who are angel investing can be members of different angel networks. In fact, before I joined this one, I was attending meetings of 5 different angel networks. Because as the angel investing is an individual activity. Again, as I said, it's my own money. So it's my interest that I go and see many startups. And it's also therefore my interest to increase the channels, the number of opportunities that I see the different startups. Therefore, I was attending meetings of 5 of the angel networks. And angel networks are different, just like competing companies with each other. Some are starting to focus on certain categories. One of them is, I don't know, investing in Internet of Things, cloud, big data type of projects. Some of them are also investing in traditional industries like agriculture or restaurant ownership. And yes, so those were the 2 questions, right?
You mentioned about accreditation.
Yes.
With Treasury providing the certificate.
Yep.
And it also works in the United States, or is it specific for Turkey?
This is only for Turkey because the certificate only gives you the tax benefit, i.e. in Turkey. The US has an accreditation for angel investors, which would give tax benefits in the US, but then you would need to be a resident of US. My other hat is I'm also a mentor in residence at the Technical University of Istanbul, and it's acceleration and incubation program called ITU Seed, seed from the seed of the fruit. So ITU, Istanbul Technical University, has this incubation program where they open up applications this year, including the ones that are in the program already for the last 2 years. There will be 80 startups, and I will be the mentor in residence. My duty will also, and next to mentoring these 80 projects, I will also coordinate people coming from outside as mentors, so that I will do the matching with the existing 80 projects. And the ITU Seed program starts with a pre-incubation, then the acceleration program, and then there is a big bang. The big bang is what we're going to have tomorrow here, similar to that. Or some programs call this the demo day. Bless you. And then the ones that make the big bang, the demo day, that are winners of the demo day, will go into the actual incubation program. So this is a very detailed program. And they're open to applications from all over, not only in Turkey. So this could be something for you to check. There's an office space that people are sharing. There's a fab lab with the robotic arms and 3D printers, and everybody's working together. And Technical University of Istanbul is predominantly working with institutions across the country, and is one of the, therefore, the hubs for innovation. So, angel investor and mentor. And that brings us to today's topic, which is effective investor relations for startups. Now, before we go into that, can we turn these lights off, or is it bad for the camera? Now, the word effective is important here because with your investor, the startup is going to go into a relationship. This is not just for startups, obviously, for any company. If they're receiving money from outside, not the bank, not the relatives, not the founder's own. Thank you. Is it okay for the video if you turn this off? So basically, you're going into a relationship, and therefore there are rules for the relationship. But one important thing is the purpose of the relationship. Therefore, the definition of the word effective is that you go into a relationship so that, or you are in the relationship in a way that it is producing the result that is intended. If it's not working, i.e. it's not producing the result that is intended, it's not a good relationship. You should come out of the relationship. So inherently, this means if you're going into an investor relationship with an individual or an institution, you should know before, in advance, why you're going into that relationship. So the question becomes, why are you looking for investor? Is it money? Or is it something they know? Or is it somebody they know, or people that they know? Maybe they have good relations in the government, and you're doing a project that the government can buy, so you need those connections. Maybe it has certain knowledge, the project requires certain knowledge of, I don't know, insurance, and this person is also knowledgeable about insurance. So it's not just money. So to turn this into more collaborative and interactive, who is looking for investor? Do you know why? Can you share if that's okay? Arkanda bir mikrofon var.
Now it's okay, actually. We are Rebecca. We need to work with municipalities and subcontractors. So I need to reach them. I need investment. Firstly, the relationship with municipalities. They know about how to work with municipalities and the subcontractors companies. And secondly, of course, I need the money because we need to produce our sensors, and one sensor costs $40 to $50 in band. So if you want to put in 7,000 sensors in one city, I need the investment.
Okay. So in this example, it's clear. So know somebody, connections, and money. And therefore, when you are in the relationship, after you find the investor, and maybe a couple of months later, you can always check, is this person helping me with the municipality connections? And is this person giving me the money for the production of the first batch? Anything else? Anybody else who want to share?
Hello. Not only for the investment, like our friend said, but also for the purpose of networking, because most angel investors have huge networks, and that connections can always have benefits.
Yes. So in your case, it's a little bit more undefined. In his case, it says, I need people who knows people at municipalities. In your case, I need people who know people. You haven't defined what kind of people. Mostly investors. So you need an investor who needs investors, who knows investors. Okay. On your case?
I represent home planning team, and it's virtual renovation tool. So we need to have a tool ready. So we need investment to finish the tool in order we can launch it. And also we need salespeople in order to partner with shops in order to get their items in our website. So we need investment for both cases, for sales, marketing, and also the research and development part.
So you need investors' money.
Yeah.
But do you need an investor who can sell? Do you want him to come with you to the sales pitch?
No.
You want his money so that you can hire salespeople?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. I mean, there is no right or wrong. In this stage, all you need to know is, why do I need the investor? Because ideally, even though I'm an angel investor, now I have my mentor hat on. The more you can prolong and postpone the external money coming into your project, the better. So if you can survive to produce those first 70,000 devices with your own money, it's going to be better because the company is going to be more valuable, and you're going to have to give out less shares. If an investor comes in at an early stage, he can buy with less money more shares, then it's going to be a problem to kick him out. Sometimes they want to go out, sometimes they don't. Some are angels, some are not that angels. So at this stage, you want to know why you need the investor. It's not just because it's cool, because among the startups, I hear them, did you find an investor? Did you get investment? As if this is like one of their KPI metrics. It's not. It's a tool. Okay? The way I'm going to talk about the relationship with the investor is simply in before, during, and after stages. Because the nature of the relationship, the motivation, the intent, and the style changes. So let's try to see what happens before the investment. And when I say during the investment, it's the due diligence process. So before the investment means where you know and you prepare your business and then try to find out who you're going to reach out to. During the investment is where you sit down with the investor, the ones that are interested, and you're going to shake hands. And then after the investment is actually when the action begins, because that was the initial purpose in the beginning. You need to work with the investors and they need to work with you. So I'm going to break it into 3 stages. Before the investment, again, as I said, you need to prepare yourself, your company, and then try to understand who the investors are, what they think and how they act. Especially if it's the angel investor, again, just to remind, angel investing is a personal investment. VC, venture capital or private equity investment is an institutional investment. They take other people's money, put some of their own into the pool, and then invest that money. Angel investors take their own money from their pockets and give it to you. Rule number 1, you need to be prepared. Just like when I asked you the question, why do you need the investment? You need to have a quick answer. I need the investor who has money and who knows people at municipalities. Just like the elevator pitch of the startups, and the startup presentations start with their problem statement. Here's the problem, and I'm solving this problem. Just like, think of it that way. You're going to have to be able to say, I need investment for this and that, this much for that amount of share. Boom, boom, boom. And in order to be able to talk about this, you need to be prepared. And not just preparing for this speech, you also need to prepare your business. There's this concept of investment-ready businesses. Some businesses are not investment-ready. Some are. So if you have funny stuff going on in your accounting books, that's not investment-ready company. If you have arrangements that you need to make before you can present yourself and the business to people, that's not an investment-ready business. You can start talking about, you can start networking with people, but it's better if you have your preparation done properly. The other aspect is practice. Just like I practiced in front of the mirror for this speech, you need to be practicing for your speeches because you don't know when you're going to meet the rich guy in the municipality building. And you need to be, just like you prepared, you need to be ready, and you need, in order to be ready and ready and ready, you need to practice. And do you know who this guy is? Can you see his face? Okay, so he's preparing in front of the mirror, so should you. There's no shortcut. You need to get in front of that mirror. If there is no mirror, go in front of the wall. Find a friend. Don't find a close friend. Don't do it in front of your parents, your lover. Do it with people that are outside, because those are the people who are going to give you the meaningful feedback. Your mother is never going to tell you you suck. Your father is never going to tell you you failed. Mirror will. Mirror, mirror. Mirror will, because you'll see it. Mirror is an interesting instrument. And the other part is to know the investor, because this guy is not only the money holder. He has feelings, he has thoughts of his own, he has interest areas. He has his own money business going on. Even the VCs, although they're institutionalized, even though they're corporates, they have a certain point of duration of time that they need to make investments. They have a certain fund that they raise. So you need to know where they are in their investment timeline. Most of the VCs have a timeline of between 5 to 7 years, sometimes 10, and they raise money from other people, get their money, a number of them, and they, let's say, raise a fund of 40 million US dollars. And they have a period of 10 years. And when they are getting their money from the lending partners, LPs, they tell them, I will take your money, the 40 million, and over 10 years, I will turn this into 400 million. And they believe in this, and they give them the money. So they expect, after 10 years, 10 times more what they gave them. So you need to know in what year they are at. It's a different conversation with a VC if they're on year number 1, when they have all the money in their hand and all the possibilities. But if they are at year number 9 and they haven't made any investments, they need to make quick investments. So you need to know about the investor, and you need to know simply because, as we discussed earlier, does this guy know anybody at the municipality? How much money does he have? How much investment did he make? The trick with the angel investors is you don't know how much money they have unless they publicly tell this. The VCs publicly share the fund amount that they have, so you can work it out. So if the VC with the 40 million has declared that they are going to make an investment into 10 companies, you know that they're looking to make investments of around 4 million each over 10 years. So you can work this out. On the individual investor, you don't know. And you don't know where the money is. People don't wear it on their T-shirts. I have this much at the bank, kind of thing. Any questions? This is before the investment. So you prepare, practice, and know your investor.
Where do we get information about the VC?
Where do we get the information about the VC, or let's make it a bit general, about the investor?
Yeah.
Is a couple of things. One, good old friend Google, search about them. 2, networking. Try to catch them in events. Try to see what they are doing. Some have information on their websites, some don't, purposefully. So you get frustrated when you go online to their website and you find nothing. They do it on purpose. On networking events, you get to meet those people. Try to understand who they know and try to meet those external circle people. So think of it as you met a girl at a bar or at the university, you liked her, and you're trying to meet her. You're trying to ask her out. You start circling around, right? You try to meet the other people that she talks to. Exactly the same process.
So it is not such that every information their website.
It's up to them. There's no rule that they should or shouldn't. Some do it. And again, this depends on where they are in their investment timeline, what they have done, what they could not have done. So I have seen amount of information that the VCs share increase as they go into the investment period.
Thanks.
And how to make sure that the investment that the angel investor has is its own money, and he's not some kind of an angel trying to get some deal and earn on that deal? Because
Sorry, say that again?
Yeah, because he may be an agent who looks like for investment. He knows some investors. He just presents himself like an angel investor. He says, I have, for example, some $200,000. I want to make an investment, but he actually doesn't have that much of money, but he knows people who have. He just wants to earn some amount on that deal.
So
how to make sure that he's like a real? Are we going to ask him, or are we going to check him somehow, or maybe there are some other ways?
Yes. Again, this is not a so-called regulated industry, regulated environment where these people have to declare things. There are people like that, as you mentioned. Some people are agents for the high net worth individuals. Some people have the money. They heard angel investing or venture capitaling is cool. They want to be part of this so that they can talk about this when they're playing tennis or golf with their friends. But actually, they're not interested in the actual mechanism. So they hire people. There are people like this, which is not wrong. And these guys are walking around, and some of them are saying that I'm representing such and such person. I'm representing this fund. Some people are hiding it, saying, oh, I'm the investor. And then when you quickly get into the conversation, okay, sit down, let me show you my numbers, let me see some of the investments that you made, and you're going to feel it. And it's a gut feeling most of the time. But it's not regulated, so people don't have to do it.
I'm very much interested in angel networks, and I don't know if you're going to talk about that in more details.
I won't, but I can. Once I finish, let me do this, and then we can talk. If everybody is interested, I can do it here.
How it works, and what's the role of this, the entity which is creating the network and bringing on board all the angels. So, what they do.
Yeah, let's do this. If it's okay, let me finish this, and then we can talk either individually or if everybody else is interested, I can do it in the part of the group. So now this is during the investment. Sorry, I'm sorry, please.
Talking about investments in Armenia, given the fact that the markets in all the spheres in Armenia are only emerging and not in the stage of development, and as my friend prompted me, there's only one VC in Armenia. Yeah. So we're mostly all startups, people who are doing startup, who have the idea of startup, they should be looking more in private investors. So I just wanted to know your opinion if there is difference between relations with a private investor and a much larger and institutional investors.
There is difference between the private or individual investors and the institutionalized investors. And if I may, let me take that question together with the previous one later on, because it also has implications on what the angel network does. But there are certainly differences. And I'm also aware, as your friend mentioned, there is only one VC in Armenia and no angel networks in Armenia as far as I know. And it's a quick fix. It's really easy. We'll do it. So during the investment, now before the investment, you prepared your business. Then you researched who, because you knew about your ultimate purpose. In order to be an effective relationship, you defined what your purpose was. Then you started to prepare yourself. Now, when you feel the checklist for being prepared is you need to have a quick, as they call, elevator speech. You don't know who you're going to meet at the airport, at the bus, at any event. The other thing is you want to have a investor presentation deck, similar to what we're going to use and see tomorrow during the demo day. And also the financials with some projections, and I'll come to that. Now, the purpose of the previous stage is that you are going to hunt the investors and try to generate interest on their side for your project. Because don't forget, they have the money, that's something we want, and they have other options. We are not the potential project that they can invest. And even before that stage, they have their own money because this is personal investment. They first need to go a step beyond the fact that people can invest into real estate, people can invest into foreign exchange, people can invest into gold, I don't know. People can buy art to make investments. And this person is going to look away from those opportunities for investment. Instead of investing into real estate, he's going to decide to invest in startup projects, step one, and then you're going to convince him to make an investment into your startup project. During the investment, it's a different mentality. Now, this person has interest, and this person wants to know more. So this is the stage where you're showing more. But in order to get into interest, first you need to engage these people. So another tip for tomorrow, you don't want people to fall asleep when you're on stage. A good tip for that is to come up with a story. I'm sure people helping you prepare for the presentations suggested that. So have a story. Don't stand up there and say, my name is this, I do this, and I want money. Turn that into a story. I'm not going to tell you how, because I'm a jury member, I shouldn't. Now, once you engage them, once you have their interest, the whole thing about startup is talking about the future. There is no past. Maybe the company is not established yet. There's no past. And you're going to create something new that doesn't exist. The way that you're going to solve that problem is not happening because you're going to solve that problem in that specific way. So you're talking about assumptions. You're going to say, my smartphone app is going to be downloaded this many times. My website is going to be visited this many times. My devices are going to be used in so many number of municipalities doing this. And with the money I collect from each of these KPIs, metrics, I'm going to make this much money. And I'm ready to share some of that money with you. That's the storyline, basically. So you're talking about future assumptions. And there's a lot of guessing. You don't know. He doesn't know, definitely. And this is where you convince people. Now that you've engaged people, they're not sleeping, then you're convincing people that, okay, this is going to work, and I want to be part of it. Any questions? Because this is a crucial moment in the relationship. You found them before the investment, you researched, you've engaged them, they're listening to you, and they're convinced that, okay, I can see this working. The way to do this is by giving examples, telling stories, and showing data, 3 ways.
Should it be during the investment process or before the investment process? Because I need to convince him, so he should invest.
Both. So you need to convince him that he wants to or she wants to have a further conversation with you. The way we do this process in our network is we have 3 stages of meeting with the startups as the angel network. So slightly going into the topic of what does an angel network do. First, we scout for startups. We work closely with the incubation centers, programs like this one. We find out about the startups. We invite them. Some startups find out about us and they apply to us. So we get a pool, and from that pool of startups, we select them. And that's our first stage. The ones that we select goes into our second stage. The first stage is the information stage. We collect information with knowledge about the startups. The second stage is the interest stage. Because there, like tomorrow, startups are pitching to the investors. And they want to engage the investors. They want to create interest. And this is done in 10 minutes. So the presentation is only 10 minutes. How many minutes is tomorrow's presentations? Less than 10. So in 10 minutes, you're going to present the project, and you're done. Another 10 minutes is for question and answer. So in total of 20 minutes, you cannot convince anybody to make the investment in 20 minutes. That doesn't work like that. But you can convince them to have a further conversation. So that's why I said both to your question, because before the investment is the 10-minute presentation. During the investment, that's our third stage, is the intent stage. So it was the information, interest, and intent. The angel investor should declare his intent or her intent to make the investment, provided that the fourth stage works out, which is the due diligence, which is where you dive deep into the numbers, which is usually 2, 3, 4 hours of meetings, not in one sitting, but more detail. So that's the during stage. Now, you have an investor who's engaged and convinced, and he wants to do more. At that stage, the relationship again changes, because this is the stage where he can say, oh, I see what they are doing, and they look like good people, a good team that can produce what they're saying. Now I need to find out if this is a project that I can have an influence more than my money can buy. Because this is the stage where the investor now thinks, okay, this is a good project, investable project, but is it me to make that investment? Am I the best person? So it's also important that you tell them you need certain stuff. You need connections at municipalities. You need connections or knowledge about a sales team management. Because this is the stage where the investor is now, okay, I can see myself part of this team, and not only with my money, but with my know-how and know-who, I can make an influence. So if you are in that stage, this is good. Now you are holding the investor in your hands, and he's now trying to convince you back that he's the right investor for you. And then comes the next stage, which is the questions coming from the investor. This is another crucial part, because this is still a positive interaction, even though sometimes it may sound negative, because this is where the investor is trying to learn more about you personally, the project, the future, the competition, the market, the environment. And at least personally, I can say sometimes I'm not necessarily interested in the answers that I get to the questions. I'm more interested in the reaction when I first put the question out. Have they thought about this before I asked? Is it me? Am I the first person to bring this topic up? Again, I'm going to use you as an example. Municipality relationship, so that tells me it has some sort of a regulated environment. I don't know what, we'll see tomorrow. But I need to be able to be, I need to be convinced that this team has thought about the regulatory implications of this project. It is not the first time that I'm asking the question, what about regulation? What about law? What about rules? The answer may be, we haven't figured it out. But the answer should be, we thought about that. We know there is an implication. We know there is a roadblock that we need to jump over or walk around. Lawfully, legally, obviously. Huh? So again, being prepared for the questions is not necessarily always having the answer. It is always being prepared for the question. Now, the investor decided to make the investment. In this stage, which I'm jumping now, there is a whole lot of legal process going on because they're going to be part of your shareholders. The company documents are going to be changed. There is money now in the bank account. You have a plan for spending that money, which is agreed. There are terms that are agreed mutually. And now let's look at the next stage. Because at this stage, this is where the starting point comes back. What was the purpose of having an investor in the first place? Work with your investor, because that was the whole purpose from the beginning. You wanted to have his connections at the municipality, have him bring you to those connections. You wanted to help him, you wanted him to help you with the sales management, make him sit down with you and work on the sales team. Who should we hire? How should we recruit? How should we train them? How should we give them commission? What's the benefit? And how should we monitor them? So if this person has knowledge about managing a sales team, he wants to be part of that process. Hence the name Angel. If this was just an investor, he would just give you money and call me if you have any troubles and see you. Good luck. Even if he tries to do that, because you had a purpose in the beginning, because you researched about the guy, you want him part of your team. So pull him in. Another very important rule, no surprise. Both ways. The investor shouldn't surprise you. You definitely should not surprise the investor. And this doesn't mean, oh, let's hide the bad news that we couldn't sell, which we promised by the end of the month. That's lying, that's even worse. This is, as soon as you know about something not going right, similarly, as soon as you find out that something is going right, as planned, tell him, tell her, share it. No surprises, never, no sort, any sort.
We have an investor and the company which is giving out shares. So the investor is interested to invest as less as possible and to get as more shares as possible. And you want the opposite. And what you are giving out at this stage is a promise. So what's the practice of evaluating the value of one share when you are at the stage of promise? Is there any way to know for a startup that one share or $10,000 or $50,000 investment you will get 10% of shares or whatever?
There's no certain rule, like it's not like in a book you say, okay, this kind of. There are a couple of methods. One is looking at and comparing to similar businesses, maybe in different stages. If you're building an app for peer-to-peer communication, like messages, like WhatsApp, you can say, there was this WhatsApp application. It was sold for $19 billion to Facebook, with 2 people working on it, and so many number of subscribers. I'm building my messaging app. I have 100 subscribers. Therefore, if they were at 19 billion with I don't know how many subscribers, I'm at a different valuation with 100 subscribers. Obviously, with 100 subscribers, it's hard to tell. But that's one way of, in long term, 3 years later, when you want a new round of investment, now the VC will come and they will not have enough space now to inject themselves into the game. Yes, but then your valuation is out of the roof, very high. So the VC is now going to say, oh, you're too high. So it's perfect example of game theory and negotiation. And you also have to be knowledgeable and skilled in this area. Again, this has nothing to do with your product, that has nothing to do with your project. It's a different game. Working with the investor, he wants to hear about you. She wants to be part of the team, and she wants to hear about how you're doing. If you have an education project, and the number of kids that are going through your program is a number that you want to report, even if they're going down or up. So progress reporting, KPI reporting is quite important as well. Now to wrap up, so that we can go into the questions, always remember 2 things when you're dealing with the whole investor topic. There are a lot of startups for these people to invest in. And as emerging market startup ecosystems, Turkey is one as well, as so is Armenia. We need to be thinking globally. Even Armenia has 3 million people, Turkey has 80 million people, even those markets are small compared to the world. So when you think at that stage, there are endless alternatives for the people to make investments. So there are a lot of startups for the investor to make. Similarly, there are a lot of investors as well. So you need to choose your investor, and you need to convince that investor that you're the good opportunity, and you need to pick the right investor. It's both ways. As I said in the negotiation, both sides should feel sorry about the end result. Just like the investors are looking for startups and selecting among the startups are selecting among the investors as well. Don't forget that. Thank you. So in terms of time, 30 minutes for questions. We were going to talk about the angel network. Shall we do that? Is that a topic that interests everybody, or shall we do it offline? Everybody? Okay. Angel investing, as I mentioned, is done individually. It's individual money, and the process, therefore, should happen individually. So, I decided to become an angel investor. What's the next thing I need to do? find something to invest in. As I mentioned, there are thousands and millions and hundreds of startups around my vicinity, my country, the region, the world. How do I find them? Do I have enough time just to search? Because I need to do this part quickly so that I can make the investment and then start working with the team so that I get the benefits. So there should be a way to make this process more efficient, not only effective, but also efficient. Therefore, I want to team up. I find another investor, say, let's work together finding investors. You go this way, I go this way, and we'll come back, we'll share the startups we found. We do this, it's still not enough. Then we find two more. You go that way, we go this way, and then this goes here and here. So the idea is coming together for the angel investors is crucial for their efficiency. Not only in the before stage, finding the startups, listening to them, evaluating them, but also during the investment, making the due diligence. Because if you want to do it properly, you want to pay somebody to do it for you. It's serious business. You want to definitely have a lawyer next to you, preparing and helping you with the paperwork. Similarly, as with the investor's case, it also applies for the startups. So you want to team up. Again, before the investment, during the investment, and even after the investment. Maybe you don't have that much money, but you still want to be part of the project. So you collect 10 of your other friends. Let's invest together. So I give 10,000, you give 10,000. In total, we have 100,000. Or maybe this guy was asking for 2 million. We need 200 people doing the same thing so that we can invest in that project. So before, during, and after the investment process, it's in the investor's interest to team up, to work together with other angels. And the angel networks are facilitating, are solving this problem for the investors, that they look out for the scout for the startups. And as I mentioned at the information, interest, and intent stages, we facilitate the angel investors that join us as members so that we bring them together with viable startups. And then we help them during the due diligence process. And also we help them during the post-investment stage where you work with the investors, you want to get to other people's networks, and also you want to report on progress. So the basic task of the angel network is a facilitator, bringing angel investors together. And again, this is the regulation in Turkey. You need to be established as a corporation and apply for the accreditation to the Department of Treasury so that you can license people as angel investors. And that's another service. Angel Network is licensing the angels. When it first started in Turkey, the Department of Treasury was giving out the licenses to individuals because there were no angels. And then as the numbers started to increase, they said, generate companies or establish companies called angel networks. So we accredited them, and the angel networks are giving out certificates to the angels.
Angel network is somehow who is charging for angel network and how it's becoming sustainable?
Good question. Again, I can give examples from Turkey because the 10 of the angel networks almost are working on 10 different models right now. And we're all trying something different. Let me start with ours. We only charge a membership fee to the investors. 3,000 TL. Again, which is what? $1,000 maybe. Per year. And this is only to participate our meetings where we put them together with startups. We do a second type of meeting where we take angel investors and give them not lectures but talk to them about certain topics. The most recent one we did was about Internet of Things. So we brought an Internet of Things startup, an angel investor who made an investment to that startup, and then a VC who made an investment to that startup. Talking to the angel investor shares, therefore we don't have any seats in the management of the company. We don't take part in the management meetings of the startup post-investment. What we do, though, is we have a lawyer company that we are partnering with, and we have a corporate finance company that we're partnering with. And we present it to our investors, saying that here are the two service providers, a lawyer and a corporate finance guy. If you want, you can use their services, and they didn't pay to these guys. And so we don't force, as the angel network, we bring them together, but we don't force them that they use the lawyer, the corporate finance people. They can go out and find other lawyers as well. We just offer them one that we know, who is also part of our network as individual investor. You want to have a lawyer and a corporate or investment banker or corporate finance person on your side when you're going into the angel network business, at least to collaborate, even if they're not part. I don't know the case in Armenia, but in Turkey, you cannot force a lawyer to, or you cannot even make a commercial. You cannot advertise that you need to use this lawyer. He's great. Similarly, you cannot advertise about a doctor because the implications are too much. In Turkey, it's forbidden to advertise about a doctor, especially the doctors themselves and the lawyers. Doctors and lawyers cannot advertise. I don't know the case in here. So we can only suggest that they work with these people, and we cannot force them. In terms of post-investment, working with the startup, though, the other thing that's happening is, maybe I should also talk about that, is lead investor concept. Remember, the guy was looking for $2 million US, and we had 200 people coming up with 10,000. I hope the math works. But so now you have all of a sudden 200 people lined up, and they cannot even fit into this room if they are going to make a company meeting on a Monday morning. So you need a lead investor that the 199 investors elect and are comfortable that. We are comfortable that this gentleman represents us, and he attends the meetings on our behalf. And he's going to be the bridge between the startup team and the 200 investors. So the lead investor, because of this, has more time invested into management of the company. Therefore, he gets another share or another benefit. Even it could be extra shares free of charge or extra payment at the end of the period. It could be salary-based or share-based. So there's the concept of lead investor. Then there's the concept of, when you have more than one angel network, then there's the concept of co-investment. That's also something we do. It's this part here. So from our network, 10 people got interested, but it's not enough to collect the money that's requested. So we call up the other networks and say, we have this project, we have 10 people interested, it's not enough. Do you have people who could be interested? And we'll help you to go to that network and make a presentation to them as well. So that's the co-investment model.
One more question, last
Yes.
one. Yeah, so when we have the investors, and we have the angel network, we've got all the experienced people in front of the startup, which most probably is not as much experienced as, so we are, in some extent, you are negotiating, or you are in front of one startup, new, maybe student graduate, in front of all these professional people. So is there any entity which is protecting the startup?
It's the lawyer, primarily. And these guys are called angel investors for a reason. They are not there to eat you. They're not alligators.
Yeah, so, but...
So they're asking questions, tough questions, to understand better. So when you're getting questions, especially tough questions from an angel investor, that's a good sign. Otherwise, I could say, okay, good, I understand, I have no questions. No questions is the worst. So yes, you're right, because that's exactly what happens in a startup to investor presentation. These guys are with shaking knees and shaking hands, because these guys have more experience than their age sometimes. But these guys have expert knowledge in a topic. They don't know about IoT. They don't know how to run a cloud business. These startups do. And they haven't made any tests in the market. They have knowledge about other models, like they know how to manage a sales team with the commissions, with the performance matrix, but not trying to sell a software as a service business over the cloud. They were maybe doing this selling furniture. But the same concepts sometimes apply. But you know, as the startup, you know something that they don't. And as the investor, they know something that you don't. That's why you're going into that relationship. Esther. Yes. We're talking about. So he made the investment. As their number increased, another thing happened which accelerated the scene in Turkey. This gentleman was selling, there was this gentleman called Hasan Aslanoba. Maybe you heard the name. You should, if you're interested, research into his name. He used, as a family business, he sold his water bottling company to Nestle. So he sold a huge factory, basically. So they were producing traditional business. They were getting water, bottling them, and selling plastic bottles. So instead of turning around and buying another factory, or buying a hotel and going into the tourism industry, which you could, I think he had a proceed of 400 million as a family from the sale. And then 50 million of this money, TL, he invested into startups, 1 million each, in a very short time, 6 months or so, even maybe less. So now he has a portfolio of about 40 companies, give and take. 20 of them are failing or failed. 20 of them are now going on. And a lot of, there is this concept of old money. People, industrialists, people were tradesmen, they made money, and they're sleeping on them. We have this saying in Turkish, it's under the pillow, right? So we need to get that money out of under the pillow. That's why I said it's quite fixable, quite easy, as long as you can convince these people. And having this example made people, they were inside their houses, dealing their own businesses. Now it's like you heard a sound on the street and you go out to the window and you look outside. There is great amounts of money, unknown amounts of money, looking outside to what this guy did. And as soon as he has an exit, successful one, they're going to pour out on the street. We hope, we assume. So one, people are going to start to make money from starting startups. And e-commerce was an early one because it was relatively easy. Less investment, you need a computer, that's it. And internet connectivity and logistics and banking system supported the e-commerce business in Turkey. And then once you have 1 or 2 people who made money out of internet or out of any new technology, then they are willing to make an investment into that game again. Then maybe you have an industrialist who says, I'll do it, and make an investment. In Armenia's case, I know there are people trying to bring the diaspora back, people living outside of Armenia who has a vested interest in Armenian economy and the young generation. They're looking to find ways to make investment. I know because we're also trying to do the same thing with Turkish people living in Germany, living in the UK, living in the United States, outside of the country. Because they have this emotional connection now, and they have money. One problem with that is that they are not here, so they don't have the opportunity to get involved in the business.
I want to understand what's the average stake that usually an angel investor would get? What are the terms of this investment?
Usually, it's more than 2 years, because that's the amount of duration that you should see if your investment on your impact has a meaningful impact result. The law, the regulation of the state through the Treasury Department says you have to stay 2 years minimum. So far, we don't have any exits of any angel yet in Turkey. With the recent one, there was this project called Yemek Sepeti. I don't know if you heard about it. It's a food delivery service. Okay. Okay, so it's a food delivery service. So there were a couple of angels who made investment in that business, but that was 15 years ago. The company was formed when there was no internet, or the internet was not as common as it is now. So I would say 3 to 5 years as a short answer to your question, but it depends.
But do they get any stake in that company?
They do get a share.
Yeah, how much usually?
Again, the regulation of the state says you cannot go above 50%. Typical shares are 10, 20, 25. 30, the startups start to get excited. 10, the investors are not comfortable. So between 30 and 10.
All through your conversation, you were mentioning words like taxes, regulations, laws, treasury. So these are all state
Yes.
Regulated institutions
Yes.
and ideas. So does it mean that creating a angels investors network in Armenia should start from state level?
Great question and great observation, because that's exactly what happened in Turkey. Europe also, European Union also has this notion of the next generation of growth is going to come from innovation. And they don't necessarily only think about startups, they also think about SMEs, small and medium-sized enterprises. So there have a lot of programs, European Union, Horizon 2020, and also the Turkish government has a lot of support programs for the startup scene in Turkey. And you're right, it started from the government. Should it? I don't know. Did it help? Yes. Because this is only one thing that the government did. The other thing was that they granted donations or grants to universities in the amount of 1 million TL to 50 of them. There are about 130 universities in Turkey. To 50 that scaled. At first, the government came up with a ranking of universities in terms of innovation. And the top 50 got $1 million. And they forced the universities to do something with the $1 million. They didn't tell what, but they wanted the universities to report back, saying that, and then the universities started programs of trainings, competitions, business idea competitions, programs like this one, TGBB, so that more people started to talk about startups, more people started to talk about entrepreneurship, more people started to think of new ideas and turn them into businesses. And this is a numbers game. So the government, with the amount of money that they have to pour into these things, the European Union similarly has the funds. So some people are criticizing because they're saying, oh, they're doing this, but they're not measuring the impact. And as you also know, in programs like this one, TGBB and others, measuring the impact of the program is crucial. Otherwise, we get together, we meet nice people, we work together, and we go home. And that doesn't fit the Horizon 2020 innovation objectives. So the government started to push the people into that direction, basically, with the theme of innovation, with the promise that each new startup is an opportunity for unemployment, because we could all be working in a company and we would be filling one seat of employment. Instead, if 3 of us would come together and start a new business, we generate 3 new chairs for employment, and we give jobs to other people. So the corporations are already established. The idea is to create new companies, new businesses, to increase or decrease unemployment. And then innovation will bring the growth that the economies are looking for in emerging markets. New things, or doing things new in a new way. And let's not make any mistake, it's also bottom up. So it's programs like this, initiatives like what's happening at your school, are going to bring things bottom up. And top down are going to set the scene or set the policy so that these bottom up activities can flourish and have meaningful results. And then in the middle, it'll meet. It's basically to cover, in our case, it's basically to cover our operational costs, because we're going, in some instances, we're having large training sessions for, especially the one with Angel Labs. People are coming from the States. We have a room full of 75 people, and we rented a hotel conference center. That costed something. In that case, we had some sponsorship. But operational stuff, so we have people working with us, helping the screening of the startups, helping the investors to get their certificates, paperwork type of stuff, so basic salaried employees. So we made the calculation, and we said this is the amount that would help us go. And that's how, I mean, it's almost finger in the air. No, it's not a high enough number as a filter. We thought about that. That's another great question. But right now, we're trying to increase the number of investors. And it's, again, as the numbers game. So we want more people to become angel investors. The good ones are going to be the ones that are active, more active. And the good ones are going to be staying active. So when you create a new community in any topic, you want as many people coming in first, and then the good ones will stay. No. The amount of investment, I mean, yes, there is the whole method and models of calculating the value of the company and then going down to this is how much share, so this is the 100%, I'm ready to give 15%, and here's what it comes down to. But in reality, what started to happen, and this resonates with people, at least for now, I'm sure it will develop as well, is projects are asked to forecast the next 12 to 18 months, year or a year and a half, of their cost. I need to produce 70,000 widgets. I need to hire 5 salesmen. I need to do this on Amazon for the web, blah, blah. So you write those down for 12 months, a year, or 18 months, and you come to a number. And this is your cost base. And then you say, for this number, I'm prepared to give this much of my company. And then that determines the value of your post-money valuation. There's pre-money, post-money, pre-money, post-money valuation. And the difference is the amount that the investor makes the investment for. So the method right now, which also we suggest, at least for now, again, this may change in the future because I know a couple of people started to talk about this may not be a good representation of the value of the company. Yes, but this is what the company needs at this stage. A private equity or a venture capital wouldn't use this method because they want to have a company with some traction, with some past, and some value already. In an angel investment stage. We want to help the company to get on their feet, and then start running the business. Yeah. Each case is different. As an angel network, we don't make any comments. It's up to the angels coming together who make the investment and the startup. We just bring them together. It's also changing because also depends on the investor crowd that you've attracted. If those are people who have gone through how it is done in the States, they had their own experience in the past, they sold their shares, they sold their company, so they know what a convertible share is, then they prefer that one. If they are more industrialists, traditionalists, or traditional people, they, and angel money, smart money as they call, so that their projection is going to happen earlier, so that I have an impact. And that impact is not one-to-one. So what I mean is, I'll give you, I don't know, 100,000, and you hire 3 sales representatives. So, and if they're at the end of the year, so that year is probably coming to answer your question. At the end of the year, if those 3 salesmen are going to generate revenues of 100,000, then my 100,000 stayed the same, one-to-one. I would prefer to hire better salesmen, and so that my 100,000 would bring in 300,000 at the end of the year. So to answer your question, a year, sometimes 6 months, is a good timeline to see the impact of the investor joining the team with the money and with himself, by herself. We passed 6:30. Yes. Esther?
It is an open event. It's started 2:30 here. 2:30 here. So, do we have any more questions? I think we really exhausted us and Emre. Thank you so much, Emre. Thank you for. I also want to say something before we complete this, because we have new people here who are getting to know our project. We started in November with exchange of entrepreneurs when we brought people from Turkey, and then we visited Turkey with an Armenian delegation, and then we have this TGBB project, Technology Goes Beyond Borders. What I know for sure at this point, we have a lot to learn from both sides. It's not that Turkey is much more advanced that we have to follow, or the opposite. I know for sure with our education projects, like 2 more, like robotics, which Shushan was presenting today, our Turkish partners have been really impressed how much we are investing in our secondary education. We were impressed to see how many investors, angel investors there are, accelerators, technoparks. So basically, we hope that with this project, we bring our 2 societies together, and also this benefits the entrepreneurs and young startups who are involved in the project. So for that reason, I'm grateful for everyone who is here. Thank you, Cansu, thank you, Emre, thank you, our guests from Turkey and our Armenian teams for being with us for 6 months, and see you tomorrow, and good luck.